I'm going to mute myself. So.
Good morning, everyone. Would you like us to start, Jan? This is
I thought Rebecca was going to start, but that's okay.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Tia. Hi, Jan. Hi, Brittany. And to all of you joining us today, we're so excited to be here. I'm Rebecca Lyons. I'm part of the Able Now program. I'm a senior marketing associate, and I'm joined by my colleague, Brittany Bullock, who's here. You're not able to see her picture today because she's a little bit under the weather, but she's joining us as well. And then I'm very thankful to also be here with Tia. We've done some other events together, and we found that sharing information about Able Now and special needs trusts has been something that people ask for. So we're so happy to be here, and thank you so much, Jan, for inviting us. So Tia, do you want to say anything up front, or do you want to wait until you present? You want to introduce yourself?
Good morning. Yeah, good morning to everyone as well. In our presentations, we can share more information about ourselves, but I'm here from the ARC of Northern Virginia, a sister chapter to the ARC of Greater Prince William County. And we collaborate both with ARC chapters, but also organizations that help support people with disabilities. So take it away, Rebecca.
Thank you, Tia. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here so everyone can see our PowerPoint. Let me get that up, and give me just one sec. Okay, can everybody see that okay? If I'm not hearing anything, I'm assuming it's good to go.
We are good to go, Rebecca.
Oh, thank you, Brittany. So again, good morning, everyone. And Brittany and I are so happy to be here to share information with you today about the Able Now Savings Program. I'm going to spend about the first 25 minutes giving you information about the program, about the Able Act, and then I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to my wonderful coworker, Brittany, and she'll handle some of the frequently asked questions we hear. We'll give you our contact information, and then we're going to go ahead and turn the second half of the presentation over to Tia, and she'll discuss special needs trusts. So feel free to submit your questions at any point, but most will be addressed after Tia's presentation. But we do want to get to all of your questions. So again, thank you everyone for setting this time aside to learn about both of these empowering programs. So today I want to start by telling you what we'll cover during the Able part of this presentation today. My hope is that you will leave this session with a very good understanding of the Able Act. And for those of you that aren't familiar with the Able Act, it establishes the rules and requirements of Able accounts, such as who's eligible to save, how much money you can save, when the onset of the disability had to occur, etc. And then we're going to cover the features and benefits of the Able programs that Virginia offers, and then share with you how you can get more information, and if you're interested, how you go about opening an account. And we want to share with you that this is so important because Able accounts are a relatively new financial tool for eligible Americans with disabilities. It's important because it really does empower self-determination and financial independence, but we do need your help to spread the word about this empowering program. It's estimated that 8 million Americans with disabilities are eligible to have an Able account, but just 1% of eligible individuals have opened an Able account to date. So we do need your help to share the word about this program. So let's go ahead and start by talking about what Able accounts are. Able accounts are still a relatively new savings option that are designed for eligible individuals with disabilities to be able to save for qualified disability expenses. For far too long, as most of you know, people with disabilities couldn't save for the future without a fear of jeopardizing certain means-tested benefits. And these benefits are so important because they provide much needed supports and services. So the idea for ABLE came about 15 years ago when a group of parents here in Northern Virginia were frustrated that they could open savings accounts for college for their children without disabilities, but there wasn't a similar tool for their children who had disabilities. And we're so fortunate that advocates fought hard to change this, and the result was the ABLE Act. So now you're empowered to save up to $17,000 a year in an ABLE account, and it won't endanger eligibility for certain means-tested benefits like SSI and Medicaid. And another benefit is that working account owners who don't participate in an employer-sponsored retirement program may be able to contribute above this $17,000 limit. And that's thanks to the Able to Work Act. So the additional contribution is up to the lesser of the prior year's federal poverty line for a one-person household, which was $13,590, or the account owner's compensation for the taxable year, whichever is less. So what this means is that eligible individuals now are empowered to save up to a maximum of $30,590 in an ABLE account in 2023. And again, this depends upon their income, and this won't impact certain means-tested benefits due to asset limitations. So just to give you a little bit more information, the Federal ABLE Act of 2014 modified the US tax code, and that was section 529, and it opened the door for ABLE accounts. And the ABLE Act is named for the late Stephen Beck Jr. He was a Virginian who advocated for people with disabilities. Many of you may have heard of him. Sadly, Mr. Beck passed away right before the ABLE Act was signed into law. But to honor him for his advocacy, the ABLE Act is named after him. So it's the Stephen Beck Jr. Achieving a Better Life Experience Act. And we're so grateful for all his hard work to get this into motion, along with many others across the country who advocated for it. Now, Mr. Beck's daughter, Natalie Beck, became our first customer when ABLE Now was opened, and his widow, Catherine Beck, serves on our board, and we're also grateful for her advocacy. So again, ABLE stands for Achieving a Better Life Experience, and similar to 529 college savings accounts, if you're familiar with 529s, ABLE programs must be administered by a state. And in 2015, Virginia became the first state in the country to pass ABLE legislation after the federal ABLE statute was passed. And so this state legislation authorized the development of two ABLE programs, ABLE Now and ABLE America, and they're both sponsored by the Commonwealth of Virginia, but both are open for national enrollment. So you can live in Virginia or any other state nationwide and open one of the programs, regardless of your state of residence. ABLE Now is the largest independent direct sold ABLE savings program. And again, it opened in December of 2016. And although ABLE Now is sponsored by the Commonwealth of Virginia, I want to reiterate it's available nationwide to eligible US citizens and legal residents, regardless of state residency. And in fact, today we have account owners in all 50 states. So for those of you that aren't familiar with Virginia 529, we're the state agency that administers ABLE Now. It's an independent agency that runs the largest college savings plan in the country. And we've been helping families dream, save, and achieve for over 25 years. Our first account opened in 1996. And we're so happy now that our mission has become even more inclusive and includes the ABLE Now program. So just to summarize, ABLE Now is a direct sold ABLE program. You open and you manage your ABLE account directly online. Now, I do want to spend a couple of minutes telling you about Able America, because Able America is the first and the only Able program that's offered through financial advisors, and it opened in July of 2018. Able America is distributed by the Capital Group, which is home of the American Funds. And this is one of the oldest and largest mutual fund companies in America. Able America is eligible to individuals in all 50 states. And like the other ABLE programs, Able America is governed by the rules and requirements of the ABLE Act. And again, those rules and requirements include how much you can save in your account, who's eligible, etc. But the difference is a financial advisor can give professional advice and build a comprehensive plan tailored to your specific needs. So again, Able America is an advisor sold ABLE program, and you'd contact your financial advisor if you're interested in Able America. But for the purposes of this presentation, we're really going to be discussing our direct sold ABLE program, Able Now, that you can open directly online. So let's talk just briefly about who is considered an eligible individual and can have an account open for them. Well, first of all, an eligible individual is someone who developed the onset of their disability before the age of 26, but they can be any age right now, but those symptoms or the onset had to occur before their 26th birthday. And they're entitled to either supplemental security income, SSI benefits, or SSDI, Social Security Disability Insurance, based on a blindness or a disability. Or they can self-certify that they have a qualifying disability diagnosis from a physician. But it is important to note that eligible individuals with disabilities may only have one ABLE account. So there's a one account rule, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. But again, Able Now is available to all eligible individuals in any state, and an eligible individual can open an ABLE account as long as they had the onset of the disability before the age of 26. But I do want to throw something out here, and we're so excited about it. Many of you may have heard about the Able Age Adjustment Act, and this recently passed in Congress, where beginning in 2026, 3 years from now, so not today, but in 3 years, we're excited about this. The onset of the disability is going to increase to the onset prior to the age of 46. And what this will mean is that millions more individuals with disabilities will be able to take advantage of this empowering program. So we're so excited about this as well. But just keep in mind, currently for 2023, the onset of the disability had to occur before the age of 26. So let's take a look at how you can use the money in your account. When you're saving, money in the ABLE account can be used at any time to pay for qualified disability expenses. And an expense is qualified if you incurred the expense at a time you were considered an eligible individual, the expense relates to your disability or blindness, and this is the good part, the expense helps you maintain your health, independence, and quality of life. So as you can see, these categories are quite broad. And we know that qualified disability expenses can vary widely from one person to the next. So you see that there are a variety of categories here, and you may have other things that you use your account for that don't fall within this list. But this is just a guideline of some of the things you can use your ABLE account for. And as you can see, it's basic living expenses, health and wellness. You can use your account for housing and food, transportation, education, not just four-year colleges, but it might be job coaching, other types of training, assistive technology, financial management. And I do want to mention legal fees, because this is where Tia may come in a little bit later as well, because we've heard from some people that even use an ABLE account to set up a special needs trust if they don't have one. So those legal fees are important as well. So what are the advantages of having an ABLE account? Well, you can use your ABLE account generally for any of those expenses, and generally funds in an ABLE account are disregarded when determining eligibility for certain means-tested disability benefits, such as Medicaid and supplemental security income. But just a brief summary. For supplemental security income, an account balance up to and including $100,000 is disregarded. And then money in an ABLE Now account in excess of $100,000 would be considered an asset, and it could cause those SSI benefits to be reduced or suspended. But there is absolutely no impact on Medicaid benefits. But it is important to note that after the account owner dies and after all final expenses are paid, funds remaining in the ABLE account may be recovered to reimburse the state for Medicaid-related services. And this provision is called the Medicaid clawback or payback provision. But I do want to tell you that some people were holding off that lived in Virginia because they were concerned about this Medicaid payback provision. But in 2020, the Virginia General Assembly passed legislation to prohibit the state from pursuing Medicaid recovery claims against the ABLE Now or ABLE America accounts of Virginia residents, unless required to do so by federal law. So this is great news for Virginia residents. Now, if today someone is joining us that doesn't live in Virginia, it's always a good idea to check with your home state to see what their state Medicaid provisions may be, because those may differ from those here in Virginia. So I did want to share that with you. But one of the other benefits of an ABLE account is you can save with the help of others. So anyone can contribute to your account. It could be friends, it could be family, it could just be any other individual that wants to make a gift to your account. And making a gift contribution is very, very easy. ABLE Now offers a convenient website where people can make a gift contribution directly into an account. And then we also offer direct deposit. So a paycheck, Social Security income, or any other recurring contribution can be deposited electronically into your ABLE account as well. So this makes it very easy. And then you can save in an account that's really specifically designed for your own needs. And your needs may vary from someone else that even has the same disability. The accounts are very flexible, low cost to maintain, and we're going to review those fees in just a few minutes. You can manage your account anytime, anywhere with accessible online tools, and we even have a mobile app. We were the first to develop that. So you can pay for qualified disability expenses with an ABLE Now card, and it's available to all account holders at no additional cost to you. And one of the great things about an ABLE Now account is you can save and your earnings are going to be growing tax-free. So earnings on investments in an ABLE Now account are never taxed when you use the money you've contributed for qualified disability expenses. And ABLE Now contributions may qualify for the Savers tax credit if the account is open. And in addition, some states may offer state tax incentives as well. In Virginia, your earnings again are going to grow tax-free at the state and federal level. And Virginia also offers a state income tax deduction. And it's up to $2,000 per contributor. So this is for contributions to either an ABLE Now or an ABLE America account. And we have complete rules and details on our website at ablenow.com about this, and also in our frequently asked question portion on our website as well for you to check out. So ABLE Now makes it easy for you to save and invest at your own pace, and this is how it works.
Rebecca, I just want to chime in and say we have a little less than 10 minutes
Okay.
Before we need to turn it over to Tia. And I just want to make sure we get most of the basic information covered. So I didn't know
Sure.
if you kind of wanted to just briefly mention the investments,
Sure,
and then kind of
absolutely.
get through how to open the account, and then we can do the frequently asked questions.
Excellent. Yeah,
And
thank
this
you
is
for
Jan.
keeping
I'm
up on
also
my time.
chiming in. We will share the slides after the presentation by Tuesday at the latest.
Perfect. Thank you both for sharing that information. And if I go long, just cut me off. But here I'm going to just quickly show you our investment options. So first of all, the first $2,000 in your Able Now account is going to automatically be allocated to the FDIC insured deposit account. And so this is linked to your Able account. You can continue to save in the deposit account if you choose to, but once the balance reaches $2,000 in your deposit account, you do have the option to invest in these additional investment options. And this might be a great way to save for the future. So each portfolio is designed for a different risk tolerance. So you can see they're aggressive, conservative, moderate, and even a money market portfolio you can choose from. And we really do have minimal costs associated with maintaining your Able account. There's no enrollment fee, no minimum contribution, and there is an account service fee of $3.25. But when your account balance in the deposit account reaches $10,000, this fee is waived. And if you choose to invest, there are really minimal asset-based fees. And these range between 0.36% and 0.39%. And it depends on the investment portfolio that you select. And again, this is all on our website. So when you're ready to open an account, you just go to ablenow.com and you'll see there's a purple open an account button at the top of the page. And this will share with you who can open an account. So if an eligible individual wishes to open and manage their account themselves, they can do this independently if they're over the age of 18. But if the eligible individual is a minor under the age of 18, or they just need help opening the account and not exercise signature authority, a person authorized to act on their behalf, an authorized representative, can open and manage the account for them as well. So let's just review some of these options and how you can do it. So again, you're going to be asked for some personally identifiable information. So if you're opening an account for yourself, this will include things such as your date of birth, social security number, etc. And you can either enter your banking information when you open the account, or you can do that and do it after the account is opened. Now, if you open an account for someone else as the authorized representative, you're going to also need to provide your personally identifiable information as well as that for the eligible person. And you can see the check marks here that show the information, date of birth, social security number, etc. And then we do want to mention too that parents, grandparents, siblings, and spouses can open an Able account by self-certifying their relationship to the eligible individual. And for these categories of eligible family members, no documentation of the relationship is required during that time. And if someone is opening an account as the authorized representative, as the legal guardian, care representative, or power of attorney for that person, they're required to upload the appropriate documentation before they're able to use and contribute to the account. So I just want to point out that there is an order of priority for those family members. During enrollment, the authorized rep will self-certify that there's no one with a higher priority. And it's first given to the spouse, then the parent, then the sibling, and then the grandparent. So you can manage your account easily. You can check your account balances. We have a mobile app, so you can check your balances on the go. You can make contributions directly online, but we do recommend that you have a very strong password. And we also have a new financial resource hub, and Brittany can cover that during the Q&A portion after Tia's presentation to give you a little bit more information about that as well. I do want to thank all of you that have joined so far. And as a thank you from us, we want to give you the opportunity to enter to win a $500 Able Now account. And you can scan that QR code, or you can go to ablenow.com/win. And this also will be in the handouts that's coming to you. So without further ado, I'm going to stop chattering. And I think you need a fresh voice. You've heard a little bit of Brittany's voice, but I'm going to ask her to come on and cover these frequently asked questions.
Awesome.
Hi, Brittany.
Hi, Rebecca. Thank you so much for covering that information. Sorry, I had to chime in for a second. But just letting everyone know, we have a couple of frequently asked questions, but like Jan, Tia, and Rebecca mentioned, we're going to hold off and answer those questions at the end of today's session. So the first question that we receive a lot is, I am older than the age of 26, but can I still open an Able Now account? And the answer is yes. So as long as the onset of your disability is prior to the age of 26, you are eligible to open an Able Now account. And I also want to note too, I did see kind of a quick comment come in. You do not have to receive SSI or SSDI benefits to be eligible for an Able account. So keep in mind too that you can self-certify that you have a qualifying disability diagnosis and still be eligible to open an account. The next question that we get a lot is, do I need to live in a certain state to open an Able Now account? And you do not. So we are Virginia's program, but we have a nationwide enrollment, and we actually have accounts in all 50 states. So if you're living in Northern Virginia now, but decide to move to Maryland or California or Florida, you can still keep your Able Now account with us. How much can I save in my Able Now account each year? As a reminder, you can save up to $17,000 for 2023. And if you are a working individual who's not participating in the employee sponsor retirement plan, you are able to save an additional amount in your Able account, almost totaling around $30,000. Now, this next question here, this is a main reason why we're joining with Tia and with Jan today to talk about the Special Needs Trust, but we have a lot of families that want to know, can you have an Able Now account in a Special Needs Trust? And the answer is yes. And sometimes it may be a necessity. I have spoken with a lot of families who had to have both for different reasons. But again, you can have an Able Now account in conjunction with the different types of Special Needs Trust. And like I mentioned, Tia will be jumping on in just a moment to kind of cover that information. Who can contribute to an Able Now account? Anyone can make a contribution. So not only can you have your Social Security benefits go directly into your Able account or your employment, your paychecks, but friends and family can make those contributions to your Able Now account as well. And that's a great way to help grow your savings too. So think about those special occasions like birthdays, holidays. You can tell your friends, hey, why not make a contribution to my Able Now account? And then lastly, where do you go to open your Able Now account? You're going to go directly to our website, ablenow.com. You'll click on that purple button, like Rebecca mentioned. It will walk you through step by step on how to complete that application. And if you have to submit any sort of documentation, it will walk you through that process as well. But we do have a lot of great other questions available on our website. But again, Rebecca and I will be we'll still be here at the end of our session today and to answer any questions that you all may have. But I'm going to go ahead and turn it back to Rebecca. We have this last slide here, and then we'll get ready to turn it over to Tia.
Thank you, Brittany. And this is our contact information, and this again will be in the handout. If you have any questions that we can't answer during the Q&A portion later, or you just want to reach out and ask something more specific, you can go to our website with a lot of information, or feel free to call the number listed here on your screen. So, Tia, thank you for being a part of this session today and for allowing us to be a part, and Jan as well. I'm now going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to turn it over to you, Tia.
Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, Brittany. Thank you, Jan, too, for giving us the opportunity. So I'm going to switch over to our PowerPoint now so that we can see this. And I'm hoping to get it full screen. There we go. And let's start with the first slide, which is the Special Needs Trust, which is what we're going to be talking about. I'll talk about our program, but I'll also talk about programs or other ways to establish a Special Needs Trust. And as mentioned, pop your questions in the Q&A. We'll take 30 minutes to talk about Special Needs Trusts, and then we'll have the remaining 25 minutes for the Q&A. So that's my older daughter right there, Sheridan. That's a few years ago, pre-pandemic. So I'm the mother of two adult daughters with special needs. Both happen to have Down syndrome. And I knew Steve back in the day because his daughter has Down syndrome as well. So I remember Steve actually coming to the ARC to talk to me about what he was doing and said, why didn't I come to you any sooner, Tia? I didn't even realize there were special needs trusts. It's like, I don't know, Steve, why didn't you? So we had a good laugh about that. But these two programs that we're talking about today, Special Needs Trusts and ABLE accounts, actually complement one another. So let me see if I can get my slides moving. So the ARC of Northern Virginia, if you don't know who we are, we're a sister chapter with the ARC of Greater Prince William County. Our ARC Trust program has over 20 years of experience in establishing and managing trusts, primarily in Virginia, Maryland, and DC. So we cover the entire Commonwealth, the state of Maryland, and the District of Columbia. We have clients in about 15 other states, people that have moved, or parents who used to live here reached out to us, or siblings that were looking for trust programs and found ours. We're not trying to become a national organization because we do have sister chapters that have trust programs in other states. So it's possible to transfer the trust, but it's not necessary because we can still manage them. What's important to us to know is where does the individual with disabilities live and what benefits are they receiving in case we have to reach out to Medicaid in order to inform them, because Social Security is federal and a housing voucher under HUD is federal. We don't need to talk to them. Medicaid is the one who's always looking into a little more than the other agencies when it comes to both ABLE accounts and special needs trusts. There are around 700 chapters throughout the United States, and we're the world's largest community-based organization of and for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. We actually have we celebrated our 61st anniversary, so I need to go in and change this on 3/21 on the National Down Syndrome Day. So when you talk about special needs trust, you're talking about long-term planning, or what's also called futures planning. And today we'll talk about special needs trusts in general, and then how does our program work? I'll talk a little bit about the disbursement process because that may take up a lot of time, and then about the fees. We'll always have time for questions. We'll answer the following questions. How can I leave money for my child without jeopardizing benefits? Why is it important to move money into a trust? How does a special needs trust work? How does one disperse from a trust? So how do you get money out of the trust? Why is it program, and why is the ARC's program unique? And then how do trust and ABLE accounts complement one another? So what is a special needs trust? It's a legal vehicle that provides benefit to and protects the assets of a person with disabilities and still allows that person to qualify for and receive government benefits. All right, so it's there to protect any assets the individual may receive or would be directed to them. Instead, it would go into the special needs trust for protection purposes. Who's eligible? Anyone with a physical, mental, and/or developmental disability as defined by the Social Security Act. So it's a very broad specification, right? And you do not need to be eligible for SSI or SSDI, supplemental security income, or Social Security disability, in order to have a special needs trust. But we do look for a diagnosis. So if you're not qualified, Social Security did not find you eligible, but you have a disability, then a physician's statement would suffice. Why do people establish special needs trusts? Primarily, it's to protect government benefits. So both of my daughters, both Sky and Sheridan, have Medicaid waivers and supplemental security income. And they also receive services from DARS, from the Department of Aging and Rehabilitative Services. So they need to keep their income with the first two under $2,000. Their assets, their income, and their resources need to be under $2,000 at any given time. And so I don't want them to lose their benefits. So we've set up family funded special needs trusts where I can contribute funds, or anybody but they may contribute funds into the family funded trust, and then they can use those funds. The other reason is to help with money management and long-term financial planning. So we also have a lot of clients who don't have means tested benefits. They do not have SSI or Medicaid. They have Social Security, disability, and Medicare, which are entitlements. But their parents knew, or they knew, that if they had that money in their hands, they would spend it much too quickly, or as I always like to call them, their new best friends would help them spend that money. So by putting it into the special needs trust, you're protecting it from other people accessing it. And last but not least is promote the dignity, comfort, and happiness of the person with disabilities. If any of you know or have children that have benefits, it covers the basics, right? Room, board, potentially housing, food stamps, energy assistance, but it's not enough for those, quote, better things in life, like North Face jackets or Adidas tennis shoes, or a nice car or things like that. So the trust is there to supplement government benefits. It pays for things that government benefits do not pay for. So who's who whenever you're establishing a special needs trust? Well, there are three places you can go to establish a trust. You can go to the ARC of Northern Virginia. We're an authorized nonprofit, meaning that we went through the different state entities that needed to see the trust documents. For example, Social Services in Virginia, the Attorney General in Maryland, the courts of DC, and then New Jersey's Social Security Office, New York, Colorado, Florida, wherever else we've been. And you can also establish it with an attorney. So I call that a private trust, or through a financial institution. Now, the financial institutions, if you're establishing directly with them, they usually have a very high minimum. And so that is an issue with a lot of people. Vanguard, for example, has a $15 million minimum to establish a special needs trust. So I don't know a lot of people that have gone there to establish their trust. But let's look at the different roles within the special needs trust. So if we step back, when there's a trust, there must be a trustee. No matter what kind of trust, there must be a trustee. All right. So all of these options have trustees, or privately, there may be co-trustees. Financial institution, maybe you're the co-trustee with the bank, and when you die, they become the trustee, or you named children to become the trustees. With the ARC, the trustee is Key Private Bank. We've had a relationship with them since 2016, and we love them. I'll tell you that. They're very proactive and very giving. We are the manager. So the trustee, and I'll review what a trustee actually does. The trustee has the fiduciary responsibility. The manager, the ARC of Northern Virginia, does the client relations. So when you have questions, you call us or email us. You can schedule consultations with us and appointments to go over things. We provide information and referrals. And our ARC website has a lot of additional information. Our trust website is more specific to financial information as well as resources for a variety of things, but our mother chapter, so to speak, the ARC of Northern Virginia, has a really great library in addition to what we offer. The grantors are the people who establish or funding the trust. Sorry. The beneficiary is the person with disabilities. We ask for primary representatives. So those are people who may make disbursements out of the trust. That includes the beneficiary if they're not under guardianship. May include, it doesn't have to, and parents, friends, siblings, current residential providers. So a primary representative is basically someone you trust to make requests out of the trust, knowing that we have an internal process with oversight. So just because somebody asks for the money, it doesn't mean they automatically get it. 98% of the people do have their bills paid in that first ask, but we do, because of our oversight, stop predators many times, or siblings that mean well but aren't thinking things through. So we're there to help with that. We also ask who has legal authority, because we want to know who we may speak to in addition to those people named in the trust document. And then every trust has what's called remaindermen. So that's who will inherit if there's money left in the trust when the individual dies. Those are the remainder. They receive what's left, right? The remainder of what's in the trust. Privately, if you were to establish it, usually the parents are the co-trustees, and they need to name successor trustees. With the ARC, you don't have to name successor trustees because we have a financial institution as the trustee, so no successors are necessary. But privately, you would be the trustees and you'd name successor trustees. There may be a grantor, right? The trustee could be the one contributing, but maybe there's an additional grantor. There's always a beneficiary. Some attorneys are writing what are called trust advocates into the documents when you establish a trust privately through an attorney. And that's very similar to a primary representative. They have oversight over the trust, can make requests, and it depends. Maybe they can trump the trustee, or maybe there's a committee, it depends. And there's remaindermen. So you can see both the private trust and financial institution, they have those roles are the same, whereas the ARC has some extra layers of oversight and protection for the trust. So there are two types of special needs trusts. There's third party and first party. Third party is what we call family funded. And when I say funded, that means there's money in the trust or assets of some sort, stock or real property or annuities or whatever it may be. And unfunded, you don't need to put money in the trust at all if you don't want to. You can establish it through an attorney or through a nonprofit like the ARC. And I have other slides to go into more detail. First party trusts are funded or privately or pooled trusts. So writing it with an attorney or with a nonprofit like the ARC. So what are third party or family funded trusts? Those are the trusts that we establish. We, the parents or relatives or families, anybody but the individual with disabilities. And those are funded through usually an inheritance, a life insurance policy, transfer from another trust, contributions, real property. It's not the beneficiary's money. So the girl's dad and I set up, we originally, established trust privately with an attorney back in the day when we lived in Naples, Florida. But then when we moved to Northern Virginia and I started working at the ARC, we established the trusts with the ARC of Northern Virginia and revoked the old trusts. Then we went to our attorney and had the wills changed. So it says whatever's left. Now we're divorced. So mine says 50% to Sheridan's trust, 50% to Sky's, using the proper language. We also have a life insurance policy. So the beneficiary, so any financial product where you have a beneficiary designation, you're naming the trust. Take note, you name the trust. You do not name the person. If you name the person, we can remedy that, but it's best to name the special needs trust. So 50% to Sky's trust, 50% to Sheridan's. And then contributions. So I've told family members and friends, hey, they have special needs trusts. If you intend on leaving them anything, or you want to send birthday money or Christmas money or whatever holiday you celebrate money, send it to their family funded trust. And then that way it's available to them. My girls' trusts are both funded because I've given them, meaning we, the trust department, have given them reloadable debit cards that they can use to spend money out of their trust. So it gives them that flexibility to have that card in their wallet and use it when they're out and about. If you wish to establish the trust with the ARC, you contact us directly. We have the trust templates ready to go, and we work through the documents with you. We draft them, and then we meet with you to establish the trust. Or you could go to an attorney. They have their templates, or the bank, and it's usually funded second to die. Now, in our case, we're divorced. It's funded first to die, but actually we did what it says there prior to death. We put in seed money, and then we've contributed more. And we have an automatic transfer from the trust onto their cards, onto their debit cards every month. And that may be adjusted. During COVID, we turned it off because they weren't really using their cards at all. And then I've reinstated it this year so that they have access to those funds again. And then what happens to funds at the death of the beneficiary? The grantor decides who will inherit. So the two things that I have highlighted here, the family funded trust is not the beneficiary's money, and the grantor, you decide who's going to inherit if there's money left in the trust. This is super important, and this is what differentiates the third party from the first party trusts. We never commingle money. With an ABLE account, you can commingle money. With the trust, you want to keep your money separate from the beneficiary's money. It's super important because of that Medicaid payback. So the third party doesn't have that. The third party remains open after the beneficiary dies. The third party has the broadest use of the funds of any program out there because it may also be used to buy gifts for friends and family members, to take your parents out to dinner on their anniversary. It can be used beyond just for the primary benefit of the individual. And it too may be used for legal fees and health and wellness and transportation and medical. It's just huge, broad use of the funds in the family funded trust. On the first party trust, it also has a very broad use of the funds, but it's for the beneficiary, for the benefit of the beneficiary. So you can't use the self-funded to buy a friend dinner, right? It's only for the individual with disabilities. And federal statute states that the individual may establish it, parent, grandparent, guardian, court-ordered, or agent under a power of attorney. So there are specific individuals or entities who may establish the special needs, first party special needs trust. It's usually funded with an unexpected inheritance. So Uncle Joe out in Montana dies and leaves $50,000 to Mary Jo. You told Uncle Bob or Joe or whatever his name was, don't leave the money directly to her, put it in the family funded trust. But because Mary Jo's his namesake, he left it straight to her. And Mary Jo has Social Security, supplemental security income. So now that money needs to be moved. So that $50,000 goes into a first party trust because we want to protect that supplemental security income that person has. Now, it could also potentially go $17,000 into an ABLE and the remainder into the first party trust. That's an option as well. Lump sum payback from Social Security may go into a first party trust. There may be a jury decision or settlement. Person had an accident, they hired a personal injury attorney, they won the case. That money may be irrevocably assigned to a first party trust, so it does not count as income to the individual, and they can maintain their SSI and Medicaid without interruption. The same goes for adult child support, the military survivor benefit, and alimony. Those, if and when irrevocably assigned to a first party trust, they're never counted as income to the individual, and they never affect the person's supplemental security income, Medicaid waiver. So there's no pause in services. And you can only do irrevocably assigned to a first party trust for those types of income or resources or assets. You can't do it to a family funded, and you cannot do it to an ABLE account. It has to be the first party trust. And then lottery, we had somebody who won the lottery and they have a first party trust, and then income may also be directed to a first party trust. But we always talk about the advantages and disadvantages of doing what you need to do. So in those consultations that we offer for free. We offer one free 50-minute consultation, plus our Trust Talk Tuesdays and Third Fridays, etc. We're able to answer a lot of questions that people have when it comes to any resources or assets, whether they're expected or unexpected. So the first party is the beneficiary's money. If you wanted to contribute to the first party as a parent, we'd say, how much are we talking about, and does it really make sense to do that? Because of the potential Medicaid payback, and I'll get to that in a minute. So the process is the same as with the third-party trust, and we have clients that have third-party trusts, first-party trusts, and ABLE accounts. They have all three. They've needed all three. It's completely legitimate. They can have 15 trusts if they want and an ABLE account. That's okay. You contact the ARC, an attorney, or a bank to establish it. You only establish a first-party trust when you need to, right? When the person with disabilities either needs to apply for benefits or protect them, and if they can't manage their money. So maybe we have clients that were typically developing or in a major car accident, have become disabled, and they need to establish a first-party trust so that they can cash in their 401k or their 403b or their IRA, whatever they need to do, maybe transfer that over to a trust with us, and then the settlement money as well. And then they're able to apply for Medicaid waivers, etc. Now with the first party trust, there's a Medicaid payback. Rebecca spoke briefly about Virginia has waived the Medicaid payback. That's the state Medicaid payback. There's still potentially a federal Medicaid payback, but hopefully that won't happen. But we can't say whether or not, because usually when there is a Virginia Medicaid payback, the money's gone after Virginia has had dibs on it. If you establish the trust with the ARC of Northern Virginia, and this is only the first party trust, remember, not third party. Third party, you decide who inherits. First party, Medicaid payback, and then to the heirs at law, or you can leave it as a charitable contribution to the foundation of the ARC of Northern Virginia as the managing entity of the trust. So this causes a lot of confusion out there. First, third-party trust, you decide who inherits. So with my daughter's trusts, whoever dies first, what's left in their trust goes into their sister's trust. And when they're both deceased, Robert and I have determined who will inherit at that point. On the first-party trust, there's Medicaid payback, and then heirs at law or to the ARC of Northern Virginia, if you set it up with us. And I know there's going to be questions about the differentiation between the third, first, and ABLE. So our partnership as a special needs trust team, as the ARC of Northern Virginia is the manager. Our area of expertise is we provide services for people with disabilities. We understand current benefits eligibility requirements. We follow the grantor's wishes. So you tell us how you want the money to be spent. We want you to write a letter of intent. We have a whole 2-hour presentation on that, or an hour and a half, that tells us about the individual, because we want to know who we're working with. We consider the beneficiary's needs and priorities. So we have daily conversations with our beneficiaries, making sure that they know what's going on, and they ask us all kinds of questions. And we usually manage those calls in the afternoons because we're processing disbursements in the morning, making sure money's transferred and whatnot. The unique position that we're in is that our mission statement as the ARC is to advocate and promote the human rights of people with disabilities, and to advocate for their community inclusion. And the trust program is one thing that we offer. The ARC of Greater Prince William County has housing, they have a transportation fleet, they have early intervention, they have therapy, so they're a direct service provider. Our ARC does a lot of education and advocacy, as well as having the trust program. So our program is built on the premise of the mission statement, which is different from other nonprofits that may be managing trusts. And then we have a progressive fee schedule for accounts over 1 million. So what the key bank, I said earlier, I talk about what a trustee does. So any trustee of any trust is responsible for asset allocation and asset management. Big words. Basically, that means that whatever money is in the account, whether it's cash, which is also in an FDIC cash account, it's FDIC insured, or if it's in one of the mutual funds that the bank offers, or if it's customized investments that you've selected in cooperation with our financial advisors at KeyBank, they make sure the money is being allocated appropriately and managed. Then there's account reporting. So it's very important, both with ABLE accounts and the special needs trust, that you keep track of the receipts and bills and invoices, how that money is being spent, keep those on file. And then we have a monthly account statement that gets sent either electronically or hard copy to whomever's receiving those account statements. And people can also go online to view the account. Tax reporting is required. There's an annual tax reporting requirement for special needs trusts, and KeyBank handles that. So everything that you see bolded here, every trustee does, but KeyBank also does the tax reporting, the check writing, dispersing ACH transfers, bank-to-bank transfers, money being loaded on the debit cards, whatever's happening, the trustee is responsible for that. We have an agreement with KeyBank that any investments over $250,000, if the grantors would like to customize those, for example, I want to have Apple, Disney, and McDonald's because that's where my kids spend all my money. Then I would talk to the financial advisor at KeyBank and we'd have a discussion about how that should be handled. We also bring in people's financial advisors, and then they speak with the financial advisors at KeyBank, so there's a whole conversation going on. We're able to hold real property, which is very exciting for us. Our prior trustee would not hold real estate or mineral rights or things like that. So we're able to do that. So we offer property management as well. That is, the KeyBank is primarily responsible for that because they have all the licenses and certifications and whatnot. But we work in collaboration with them when it comes to real property. And that could be property the person's living in, and we help them with the tax issues there, because I shouldn't call them issues, but if somebody's the primary resident of that real property for a beneficiary is, then we can help them to get the taxes waived.
Tia, sorry to interrupt, about 4 minutes.
Yep, I'm looking at my watch. Thank you,
Okay.
Jan. And also rental properties. And then, like I said, what the KeyBank usually says is anything under the ground and on the ground. And then in-kind transfers of stock and other assets. So we have clients that have their money invested with whatever, Mutual of Omaha, Vanguard, Fidelity. I'm not trying to name anyone specifically, Merrill Lynch, whatever, but their advisors speak with our advisors at the bank, and you can transfer your investments in kind. So people arrange that. Usually it's upon the death of the grantor, and then whoever the executor of the estate is steps in to help with that transfer of stock. This just talks about everything that we do. So this will be on your slides when you get the information by Tuesday of next week. But we just make sure, we do a lot of reviewing and processing of the disbursements. We conduct reviews together with KeyBank. We work with the family. We have family meetings, in person now again, hallelujah. Dispersing from the trust, we require a disbursement request form or recurring disbursement request form. The recurring disbursement request is like auto bill pay. It can be the cell phone bill every month, or it could be Bob sees the same dentist 3 or 4 times a year. So it can be any date. It doesn't have to be on the first of the month. It can be a fixed amount, or it may vary. And the disbursement requests come into the account manager, who reviews them. We want to see the receipt, the bill, the invoice, the training invoice. We verify all the aspects, and we do this every single day. So is it for the benefit of the person with disabilities? Does it jeopardize their benefits? Is this how you wanted the money spent? Is it within their budget? Because we'll create a budget with them. Is it legitimate? Is it legal? Is it signed by a primary representative? There are a lot of questions that they ask, but this happens daily. It gets sent to me via DocuSign. I go through and approve the majority of them. Some may be pended. Okay, we can pay that dental bill, but I don't see the bill. Or disapproval, no, we're not depleting your brother's account to buy a house in the Dominican Republic. And we'll send a letter of why we won't do that. We don't send letters when we approve, because almost everything's always approved. So every day, 5 days a week, the requests are flowing. people are being approved, the money is transferred, in whichever manner that is. So when there's account reporting, we have everything scanned and saved. So if Social Security or Medicaid or HUD ever came back to ask beyond seeing the account statements, we can provide all of the scanned receipts, bills, and invoices. So we do a lot more personal interaction with the client and the family members. There's a lot more, I don't want to call it hand holding, but I will. Just more interactions, human personal interactions whenever we're managing the special needs trust. And I'll get to the fees. So there's a one-time enrollment fee of $1,050. That's transfer, auto transfer, or monthly payment plan, or credit card. That's to do all the work that we do to establish the trust. We require some basic documents, IDs, copies of health insurance cards, something that says the person has a disability. And then a lot of people have two trusts, or they have siblings, like I have daughters that both have disabilities. So we do a buy one, get one half off, a BOGO at the ARC of Northern Virginia. And on the anniversary of the trust establishment for an unfunded account, we would invoice for $65. So that's an annual management fee starting the next year, the year after the trust is established. Or if it's funded, then this, I see this is incorrect as well. It should be 1.44%. So for the work that the ARC does and the work that Key does, it's 1.44% annually. And so that covers trustee fees and management fees. And that's a competitive rate when working with other banks and whatnot. ABLE is much lower, but they don't have the same level of human interaction, right? Because we have an office in Falls Church and you can drop in, and we're on the phone constantly with people. We'll do the family meetings. So there's a difference in that due to the, what work is getting done in a positive way, right? In a positive way. And then to close the trust, it's $250. So that either happens upon the death of the beneficiary or if the trust is about to be depleted. And again, that's an admin fee, just like the other fee on top. And that's because we're contacting maybe Medicaid, but also Verizon and other providers to say the individual is deceased, we won't be paying bills anymore. Questions? There's our slides. To make an appointment, you can contact Allie Shelby, Director of First Impressions, or go to our website and schedule the appointment directly there. I'm going to stop sharing.
Tia, was I to understand that you're going to be coming back to the ARC of Prince William?
Yes.
Starting in June.
Correct. Starting in June, I'll do the on-site consultations and trust establishment. We'll have a dedicated day of the month that I come by, and we can do that again. Yes.
And I will create a flyer for that and send it to everyone once we decide on the dates. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you. Yes.
So, yeah.
So we're open for questions. Do we want to jump into, Jan, do you want to read the questions, or do you want Rebecca and I to take turns reading the questions, or how would you like to do the Q&A?
I think, Brittany, were you going to take a look and see if there were any coming in on our end, and then Tia?
Yeah, I sure am. So we do have, in the Q&A section, we do have 3 questions that came in. The first one looks like it is specifically for ABLE. And so that question is, if you don't currently have or qualify for SSI or SSDI, but you have a diagnosed disability, can you have an ABLE account? And the answer is yes. So keep in mind, if you're interested in opening an ABLE account, the eligibility is, there's 2 ways to be eligible. And so the first way to be eligible is if you receive SSI or SSDI based on blindness or disability, or you self-certify through your physician. And I do want to make a quick note that we do actually have a PDF form available on our website that you can easily print off and take with you to have your physician to fill out if you were to self-certify. I think just to kind of give a little insight, I think our accounts are about evenly split between those who do qualify via the SSI and then those who have self-certified. And then the next 2 questions, Tia, I think are going to be more geared towards you. So the first question is coming, or both are coming from Rita. And the first one talked about taxes being waived for property in the trust that the beneficiary lives in. Does that imply that people with disabilities get tax-free benefits for owning or living in a home?
So I cannot go into depth on tax questions because I'm not a CPA and I can't necessarily respond to that the way you specifically worded that question. But what I can tell you is that counties offer, the counties have agreed that whenever there's property in a special needs trust and the person living in the trust, so let's say special needs trust for the benefit of Sheridan Marsili, and she's living in that house, then she fills out or somebody helps her to fill out the paperwork and submits it to the county. And right now is that open period. Usually it's between January and April to fill out that paperwork and submit it to have property taxes waived. The property taxes on the property in the trust in which the individual with disabilities is living.
Yeah, I know we just received our annual assessment and it was in the assessment of our home. You know, they mentioned if you need to get a tax benefit for various reasons, and they told you what to do. So, okay.
Awesome.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Jan and Tia. The next question is, how do funded debit cards work with respect to disbursement request?
So, for example, we have two types of debit cards. We have a Visa and we have a MasterCard. And we can see what the transactions on the back end. I'm just saying that because if people have supplemental security income or Medicaid, we want to make sure that they're using the cards properly. The debit card, our recommendation is generally complete a recurring disbursement request form. So for example, $200 a month is to be transferred from the trust to the debit card on the first of the month. It should be on the card at the first of the month. Or we have clients that get money on their card every day, right? Because if we put 200 on it, it would be spent that same day. But you do that recurring disbursement request form. We have a little form that they fill out and read and sign. And then at the end of the month, at the latest at the end of the second month, they get us the receipts that correspond with the purchases for the debit card. It takes 24 hours to transfer the money from the account to the card. And a lot of people use that card also when they're going on vacation. So maybe I want an extra $500 on my reloadable debit card because I'm going to the beach and I want to make sure I have some extra spending money. You let us know and that happens. We just add more money to the card, or they're going to the dentist, whatever it may be. So that's how that's used. And it's really great because then they have money in their pocket to use. We're also the banks that have the card, so to speak, or whether it's Visa or MasterCard, the MasterCard's through KeyBank, they're also able to, their eyes are on it for transactions that are irregular. And so we'll get contacted immediately if that occurs. So my trust staff have cell phones which are the numbers. They can text our beneficiaries, family members can text our staff. They can also call them on the weekends and for emergencies. Now they're screening their calls in particular on the weekend because if it's somebody just calling to say, hey, how you doing? They may not answer the phone because they're in the middle of something else. But sometimes those debit cards need to be loaded on a weekend as well, which we cannot do because the bank is closed. But if transactions are irregular, we'll get a notice on the weekend too about that. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. The next question from Jennifer's, it looks like it kind of it's for both of us. So I'll read the question first. So it's, where can I find advisors for both ABLE and special needs trust? The second part is, can SSI be direct deposited into ABLE accounts? And then the third part of the question is, do special need trust and or ABLE accounts count as income for Section 8? And then it looks like she had one more additional question come in. Can I use an ABLE account as a dedicated account for SSI back pay? I'll go ahead and take the ABLE portion first. So Jennifer, we with the ABLE Now program, we are a state agency, so we don't necessarily have advisors, but what we do is we have a dedicated customer service team that you can call or send an email to, and they would be able to assist you. Now, with that being said, we also offer an advisor sold ABLE program that you would actually work with a financial advisor to set up and manage that program. So if you are interested in working with a financial advisor, a true financial advisor, we do have that ABLE America program, and we can get that link placed into the chat if you are interested. But with our general ABLE Now program, we have our customer service team that would be able to assist you. To answer the other part of the question, when it comes to Social Security benefits direct deposited into the ABLE account, you can now have your Social Security benefits direct deposited into that account. So I do believe that was pushed out almost 2 years ago. Or you can have it go into a checking account and then transfer the funds over. So whatever kind of works best for you. Now, the last question that you had concerning SSI back pay, and if ABLE could be a dedicated account, that's the first time I've heard of this question. That I am not sure of, and I don't want to lead you the wrong way. Again, I do know that your Social Security benefits can go directly into an ABLE account. I'm not sure if there's something particular with the back pay. Rebecca, I'm not sure if maybe you've heard of something like this before.
No, I haven't either, Brittany. So
Okay.
that's something we'll definitely research, though. A
Yeah,
great
or
question.
and another great resource too. So a lot of times when we're talking with families, and if they have questions about the trust, we send them to the ARC of Northern Virginia. Sometimes if they have those more detailed questions about SSI benefits, another great resource to check out is the ABLE National Resource Center. And they have a lot of decision guides available on that website that would be able to assist you. And then the last question that I have, and then I'll turn it over to Tia to kind of add her portion. Housing does not look at ABLE accounts when determining eligibility for housing benefits. So that the housing, they did come out and say that they do not look at ABLE accounts when determining eligibility for those housing benefits. But Tia, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you to answer your part, to add your sense in. Thank you.
Understood. Thank you, Brittany. And I'm going to piggyback on your last statement. So agreed, same with special needs trust. Whether it's a housing voucher or Section 8, they, generally speaking, they do not count special needs trusts as income or an asset. I should say not as an asset or resource, but HUD does count the disbursements from the trust and the ABLE as income when they're calculating the person's annual amount when it comes to recertification. So we're always very aware of how much, when somebody has a voucher or Section 8, that they are not exceeding the $34,000 annual limit. They disregard any medical bills, which is a good thing. That includes dental therapy. And so that's how that is looked at. Arlington County has their own housing grant, which is very different than, not very different, but it has some extra rules and regulations on it that I will not go into detail right now. We'll save that. If you have an Arlington housing grant, we'll look at that specifically. Advisors for special needs trusts, financial advisors, if that's what you mean. We have financial advisors at KeyBank that are willing to speak to you about investments, if that's what you're talking about. The trust program also offers what we call TGIFFF. Thank goodness it's Financial Fitness Friday. So it's the third Friday of the month on a quarterly basis. So January, February, March, April is the next one, May, June, July. August is the next one. So you have to check our website under events. There are financial advisors there that are available, and those are run more like a facilitated roundtable. We each do maybe a 5-minute presentation of who we are and what we do, and then the floor is open to any types of questions when it comes to finances. When you are working with a financial advisor, if they don't understand special needs, ABLE and special needs trusts, that may be a good thing because they're talking specifically with you about wealth management. If you want a financial advisor that does understand disability benefits, then you may want to ask us, those of us on the screen today, to make some recommendations. And Brittany, you're closing out questions that I haven't answered
Oh,
yet. So,
no, it
yeah,
was,
can you-
the questions were about the housing, the
Yeah.
advisors, and then the other question was about the Social Security benefits going directly to an ABLE
Oh,
account.
the lump sum payback. Yeah. So I know that lump sum paybacks may be directed per the Social Security Administration's procedural operations manual system, their POMS. They do specifically say lump sum paybacks may be paid to a first party trust. I have not seen that in the regs for the ABLE. So your friends here, Brittany and Rebecca, said they look into that specifically.
Yeah, we haven't heard about that yet. So that is something we can definitely take a look into. And then Tia, the next question looks like it may be a question for you. And the question is, are there cases where the waiver of taxes is retroactive? So they put a note in there. They said where the person with disability had the benefit of a real estate tax waiver and was unaware and is seeking
The
opportunity to waive.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I've never heard of that. I can't imagine that. I don't know when taxes are ever retroactive to the benefit of the individual. I don't know that answer, Iris, but I cannot think that it would be.
Okay, awesome. All right. Can a working person with a disability fund their own ABLE account and use it for their living expenses? And the answer is yes. So you can open and manage your own ABLE account if you're able to, or you can have that authorized representative open and manage the account for you. But if you're working, you can definitely have those funds go into the ABLE account and use those for your living expenses. All right, and then over in the chat, I have both pulled up, kind of monitoring both. There was an additional question in the chat that is very similar. And that question is, can an individual with a disability open their own ABLE account? Again, the answer is yes, you can open and manage your own account. All right, and then Tia, back to you. The individual, just clarification for the HUD benefits. They want to know, did you mean that the account can exceed the 34,000 yearly for HUD? And I'm, okay.
No, that's not what I meant. The HUD has a $34,000 asset limit, just as SSI has that $2,000 asset resource limit. So when doing the annual recertification, they say, how much do you get in Social Security? So maybe it's $15,000, $14,000. That leaves you $20,000 of other resources that you can be using to spend so that you stay below that $34,000 qualifying limit for HUD. But
Awesome.
neither ABLE nor the trusts are considered an asset or resource when the money is sitting in the account.
Mm-hmm. Yep, awesome. And then it looks like just a follow-up question from her as well. She has multiple children that she wants to set up an account for and just wants to make sure that HUD will not count those. And I think you just answered that and said that as long as the funds are in the account, it would not be counted. All right, so it looks like we have touched on almost all of the questions, and I'm just going to go back through and make sure, checking the chat here. All right. So again, it doesn't look like we have any questions coming in. I think Jan mentioned that the recording will be sent back out along with links to or a copy of the PowerPoint slides, but I'll go ahead and turn it back to Jan. I'll keep an eye if any questions come in, but I'll
Okay.
go ahead and turn it over to you, Jan.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I will be sending out copies of the slides from both Rebecca and Tia and a link to the recording. If I have time today, I will get to that. If I don't, I'm not here on Mondays, so it will be Tuesday. before I do that. Also, we put all the recordings on our website, and on our YouTube channel. The YouTube channel's the Arc of Greater Prince William, but usually within a few days of the workshop, the recording will be on our website at arcgpw.org. And I have recordings from the last 3 years on there. So any questions for me or for Tia or for Rebecca? A new message.
I just popped into the chat to remind
Okay.
people that we have the Trust Talk Tuesdays, which are 2 Tuesdays a month. It's all online, and it's an open forum where I talk a little bit about trust, and then people ask me questions about anything and everything, whether it's trusts or ABLE or housing or Medicaid waivers or Social Security, whatever. And then the third Fridays rotates between financial planning, special needs trusts, and ABLE and Social Security basics. And we bring in community experts to co-present on those topics. And then first Fridays, futures planning, that's the first Friday of the month. The next one is April 6th, and that's on military benefits, in particular, survivor benefits, but also life insurance policies and a bunch of other things that the military has access to. And for military benefits and federal benefits, the Arc of Northern Virginia is also presenting in April on that topic, again, with community experts. So make sure you check out all of our websites and then any of those events that are free to the public. Only the first Fridays are recorded because the Trust Talk Tuesdays and third Fridays are of a more personal nature because people share a lot of information about their situations, and I do not record those or put them on the World Wide Web, so that people can be, frank and open about the issues they're dealing with. But thank you, Jan, for the invitation today.
Thank
to
you
Rebecca
both.
and Brittany.
I learn something every time, that I just, okay, now it makes sense to me, so, and I look forward to having Tia coming here again to make appointments with any of you who are interested in meeting with her on a one-to-one basis. So,
And I'd like to just thank you all so much for including Brittany and me in your presentation today. It was great getting to share our topics together, Tia, and thank you so much, Jan, for including us.
no, thank you. You're the experts, so that's who I want here. Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Hope to hear from you. Take care. Bye, everyone.
Bye.